This Steve Jones Show podcast is now loading. The Steve Jones Show podcast is presented by Sunbury Motor Company, Purdy Insurance, and Brewers Outlet. Bringing you an in-depth look at Penn State sports and more. This is the Steve Jones Show on News Radio 1070 WKOK. The Steve Jones Show is presented by Purdy Insurance, Brewers Outlet, and Sunbury Motor Company. Now from the Sunbury Motor Studio, here's Steve Jones.
And this half hour being brought to you by Brewers Outlet, Reagan Street in Sunbury, the beverage supermarket, imports domestics microbrews, the best selection of beer anywhere. Wine coolers, water, soft drinks, lots and lots of snacks. They roast their peanuts fresh and hot every day. 6 great flavors of slushies, ready-to-drink cocktails like High Noon and Jack Daniel's Crown Royal. The pickle bar led by my two favorites, the Barrels and the Dills, indeed second to none. All at Brewers Outlet, Reagan Street in Sunbury, the beverage supermarket. Always great to be joined by the outstanding Tim Kurkjian, who joins us on the show today. Tim, welcome back. Great to have you with us.
My pleasure, Steve. How are you?
I'm doing well, and I hope you're doing well.
We're 3 weeks into the baseball season, and it's been great, so all good.
Yeah, it has been great. So I'll get to a couple of issues first. How is Major League Baseball viewing what's happening in Sacramento, and how are they viewing the Tampa Bay situation?
Well, obviously they're both unfortunate that a major league team, in this case 2 of them, have to play in a minor league ballpark. It's just not right. Bud Selig told me 20 years ago when he was commissioner, we got to do something about Oakland, and we have to do something about Tampa Bay. And here it is 20 years later, and there's still no guarantees completely of everything. So things have gone okay so far. I mean, some interesting things have happened in the Sacramento ballpark. Same with Steinbrenner Field in Tampa, but you just can't, even though it's unique, it's different, and it's kind of fun, it's just not the way it should be that a big league team is playing in a minor league ballpark.
What has this done to the potential expansion clock in your mind?
Well, this is just my opinion, but I don't think you can expand until you're absolutely certain that Oakland and Tampa Bay are in the right place. That is, the A's not only are going to play in Sacramento in many good conditions as possible, but everything goes 100% to Las Vegas, 1,000% correctly. And then with the Rays, you got to figure out what are they going to do about a new stadium. What are they going to do about the sale of the team? What are they going to do about a potential move of the team, which I'm not sure is going to happen anytime soon. But to me, you absolutely have to solidify those 2 franchises before you go expand, because it's just not a healthy situation, obviously, given that they're both playing in minor league ballparks.
This has been an interesting not only start to the season, but also a lot of contracts have come out, especially for younger players, from Anthony with the Red Sox all the way out to Jackson Merrill with the Padres, and then there's the Vlad Guerrero deal. What have you thought of those contracts, and we'll get to the Guerrero one last.
Yeah, I'm all in favor of taking a young player like Jackson Merrill, who not only is really good and is going to get better every year, but he's one of those guys who just exudes confidence. He's a great teammate. There's 0 chance he's going to get out of shape or let the money go to his head or stop playing because he got paid. He's the opposite of that. So if you can identify young guys in your system that you need to keep for a long time, and you can save money by extending them now to these 7-8 year contracts, I am all in favor of that. You just have to be certain, however, that the guy has the right personality, character, work ethic, and everything else to make sure that 5 years into the deal, you haven't made a major mistake. That is certainly not the case with virtually all the young guys who've been extended here recently Jackson Merrill at the top of that list.
And then the other part is Vlad Guerrero, who's been in the league for a while. And if he were to be a free agent, would probably command a bidding war. What did you think of his contract? Were the Blue Jays between a rock and a hard place on this?
Yeah, I don't think the Blue Jays had a choice. The entire country was waiting on them to make a decision. The decision they made on Vlad Guerrero Jr. As we know, they missed out on Shohei Ohtani. They tried to get Juan Soto. They went big after some other free agents and didn't get any of them. And people around the Blue Jays, fans everywhere, are wondering, are we going to keep our own? If you're not going to go out and spend enormous amounts of money to sign other players, free agents, other teams' free agents, you have to keep your own. And Vlad Guerrero Jr., with this contract, I believe, will end up being the greatest Blue Jay ever. He's a great young hitter. He just turned 26 years old. He's got a really good track record. I mean, the only concern, and goes for like almost anyone that signs that kind of deal, is he going to be really interested in staying in the best shape possible, still being a really good defensive player? Is any of this going to get to his head? My guess is no. He has said all along, I want to stay in Toronto. Not everyone says I want to stay in Toronto, even though it's a beautiful city, and they take care of their players there so well. So I don't think the Blue Jays had a choice. They had to do what they had to do. Is it an overpay? It probably will be someday, but for now, I don't think they had a choice. They had to sign him long-term.
Every race in these divisions, I think, can be exciting all season long. But when you look at the National League West, what are your thoughts when you see those top four teams?
Well, they're all really good. And I got a good look at the Giants this spring, and I left thinking, I don't think they're going to make the playoffs, but they're significantly better than they were last year. Buster Posey came in and made a difference with not just who he picked up, but the attitude that he sent towards the team, and it's really showing. The Padres, I thought in spring training, were really good. The Diamondbacks, really good. And the Dodgers are the best team in baseball entering this season. So I think you can look at those four teams in that division and say all four of them are good enough to make the playoffs. We'll see if that works out depending on the rest of the league. But the National League is loaded right now. So this thought that the Dodgers were, at the beginning of the year, were going to win 116 games, I just didn't buy it because of the division they're in. They got to play some really good teams a whole bunch of times.
Yeah, absolutely. That is going to be the bottom line. The Phillies made subtle moves in the offseason. What has been your thought on their team in the early going?
Well, it's been up and down, but I would be thrilled if I were a Phillies fan right now. Granted, it's 17 games, but, you're 10-7. Alec Boehm's hitting under 200. Brandon Marsh is 4 for 40. Trey Turner hadn't gotten going yet. Yep. Aaron Nola's got an ERA over 5, and yet they're right there. I mean, Jesus Luzardo has given them a huge boost. Their starting rotation, once Nola gets together, which he will, and once Wheeler gets great again, which he will, they can pitch with any team in baseball out of that rotation. So I think the Phillies, I thought going into the season, they were the second-best team in baseball. Only the Dodgers were better. And I've seen nothing at this point to change my feeling on that. But a few things have gone wrong. Those things are not going to continue for the Phillies. They are really good, period.
Right. Juan Soto made a fair admission. He says, look, I'm not seeing the same pitches I saw with Aaron Judge behind me. So what's been your thought on the Mets and him in the early going with the Mets?
Yeah, I mean, he's a great hitter, Steve, and he's going to be a great hitter all season. And he changed the look of the Yankees last year the minute he showed up on that team, and he's going to do the same thing eventually for the Mets. He hasn't gotten going yet. It's okay. Hardest hitting environment that I've ever seen, and even really good hitters get off to slow starts. I'm not sure the timing of what he said was necessary. I'm not sure he should have said it out loud, given that he could have gone back to the Yankees and hit in front of Aaron Judge if he'd just taken $760 million. So I wasn't sure about those comments, but look, I have no worries that Soto's going to be great this year. The Mets are going to be a significantly better offensive team than they were last year. And the way they've pitched so far this year, they're a playoff team for me moving forward. We just got started here, but I really like what I've seen from the Mets.
Right. Okay, the NFL draft is coming up next week, and we all know that over the years that if a Russell Wilson's drafted in the third round, a Seattle Seahawks team has great financial flexibility because they're paying their quarterback a third-round number. The Pittsburgh Pirates are paying Paul Skeens a $740,000 number, major league minimum. What's your thought on how they're putting that team together when they have a pitcher that obviously is the face of the franchise, and they should have more flexibility, but they don't seem to be exercising it?
Yeah, the Pirates are off to a slow start and a disappointing start, and I worry for their sake once in a while that they say, all right, we've got Paul Skeens, everything else is going to take care of itself because arguably he's the best pitcher in baseball already. But it doesn't work that way. You have to surround him with more guys in the rotation, even though it's a good rotation, more guys in the bullpen, and you got to score way more runs than they've scored to this point. So, and, the Pirates have run into some prickly issues off the field with bricks and with statues and all sorts of things. And, you can't do that when you haven't been to the playoffs or been over 500 since 2018. And when the fan base is upset at you, you can't do anything to get them upset even more. So I'm still giving the Pirates some time to get better from here, but they're going to have to get better pretty quickly because the team I see right now is just not going to score enough runs to make the playoffs in a winnable National League Central.
Yeah, in the first 16 games they played, I think 14 of the 16 they had 4 or fewer runs. So, Tim, okay, we could talk about the issues with baseball, but there's a lot of exciting things happening in baseball. What are a couple of those things that really excite you moving forward about the way the game's being played this season?
Well, I just love I always love this stuff. I just love the unpredictable nature of the game. For instance, as of this morning, Tyler Soderstrom of the A's was leading the major leagues in home runs. Wilmer Flores of the Giants was leading the major leagues in runs batted in. And Jonathan Aranda of the Rays was leading the major leagues in hitting. This is one reason that baseball is the greatest. That we can't go 3 to 4 weeks into an NFL or an NBA season. And even these guys are good players, don't get me wrong, but the league leaders are always right at the top in the other sports. But here in baseball, we're 3 weeks in, and you're just slapping your forehead like, how can this be happening? And so many things have happened so far, including the Yankees hitting 7 home runs in the first 3 innings of a game, which I covered. The Yankee first team ever to start any game with 3 home runs on 3 pitches. At least 20 things have happened now that have basically never happened in baseball history. And this is what still excites me so much about the game. They've been playing it for 150 years, well over 200,000 games played, and things are still happening that have never happened before.
And you had a guy in Garrett Crochet that the Red Sox acquired from the White Sox, and he carried a no-hitter into the 8th inning in Chicago. When you look at Crochet and Bregman, what can they mean to a franchise that has been spinning its wheels for the last couple of years?
Yeah, I left spring training thinking the Red Sox were arguably the most improved team in the American League. Crochet is an ace of aces, and they extended him as they should have. Bregman brings an arrogance to that team, which is exactly what they needed, a guy who the only thing he's ever done in his career is won. Same as with Walker Buehler. Wherever he's been, his team wins. That's it. Yep. And that's exactly what the Red Sox needed. Now, I'm not suggesting they're really good because they're off to a tricky start also. But last year, I don't think they had any chance to win the division. I think they're good enough to win the American League East this year, and that's in part because there are no great teams in the American League. It's going to be a free-for-all all season. I don't see anyone winning 100 games, but a bunch of teams are pretty good, but I don't see any great teams in the American League, which should add to a lot of fun in the AL this year.
I always call it management by walking around. When you've gone around ballparks, how excited are fan bases about the game the way it's being played today?
Well, I think it's great that you look around, and there are only a few teams, maybe the Nationals and the Rockies and the White Sox that have no chance to make the playoffs. A lot of other teams, especially in the winnable American League, have a chance to be pretty darn good. I mean, even the Angels. The Angels just finished a 9-game stretch where they hit 25 homers. They've never hit 25 homers in any 9-game stretch in the history of the franchise.
Wow.
So all sorts of things are open there for the fan base, and with 6 playoff teams, 3 wild card teams, I think it's going to be a tremendous pennant race, and we haven't even gotten close to that. I just look at where the teams are going, and there are no great teams in the American League and about 7 potentially elite teams in the National League.
I'm with you on the enthusiasm part, because guess what? You may not have a lot of great teams in the American League, but if everybody thinks they have a chance, now you've got people having fun at the ballpark. Tim, always a pleasure. Thanks so much for your valuable time. We really appreciate it. My pleasure, Steve. Thank you. The great Tim Kurkjian. Yes. I mean, you know what I love about that? We're talking here for the last 15 minutes or so. Did you hear the enthusiasm in his voice about everything? I mean, he loves the game. We love the game. And I didn't even ask him about torpedo bats.
It's funny. It's not only is he enthusiastic, it grows as the interview goes. But
you know what? What's cool about it is it matches my enthusiasm because I love the game, love baseball. Yeah, I love football. I love basketball. I love baseball. I love hockey, golf. There are a lot of sports I just really love. And as you know, I'm scheduled to go to Fenway on Saturday. For the Red Sox, White Sox. In fact, I might see Garrett Crochet, to be honest with you, on the mound. We'll see. I'll take whomever they throw out there, because I haven't been to Fenway Park in 6 years. Last time I was to Fenway Park was 2019. The Red Sox played the Astros. And they just haven't had a chance to go back. It's not like I haven't gone to Major League Baseball games. I saw the Red Sox play last year against the Pirates down at PNC Park. But I have a couple of grandsons that have really become Philly fans. So we're going to work it out, and we're going to go to Citizens Bank Park. I want to get them to Citizens Bank Park to see the Phillies this year. Because they really want to go. And I think it's great for them if they got a chance to see Bryce Harper play. I just think Harper is worth the price of admission to go see. There's certain players where it's just it's worth the price of admission to see Ohtani play, or Mookie Betts, or Aaron Judge, obviously, right? And Harper's one of those guys where it's worth the price of admission to watch him play. I mean, I don't know about you. I mean, there's certain guys that I'm sure fall into that category for you.
One of the many jobs I've done in my life is I worked with people with intellectual disabilities, and I made sure that I took a client down one time to the Senators game just to make sure that I got to see Bryce Harper play.
Or the Nationals.
No, for the Senators.
Oh, the Harrisburg Senators.
Yeah, the Harrisburg Senators.
I'd say Harrisburg Senators. I got you.
Yeah, I was like,
yeah,
might be. That was before I figured out he'd probably be in Philly. So.
Yeah. Right. Well, no, I was talking about Sasaki playing here.
Yeah.
At Midler Field yesterday, and he's one of the hot new names out there that people are going to be watching because he's at Stanford now. But yeah, there are just certain guys that You want to see Ovechkin play. You want to see McDavid play. You want to see Crosby play or Austin Matthews. You want to see, Steph Curry play or LeBron play or somebody like that. You want to, and when you look at the guys that are in that category, Bryce Harper's one of those guys. Because you know why? Bryce Harper plays the game the way you want to teach little leaguers how to play the game. Right? Jog down to first? No. Right? No, he's not gonna pull the Pete Rose dead sprint down to first, but guess what? He plays the game hard. Plays the game with a purpose. He gives people the price of admission. When the game's over, a fan does not feel cheated by Bryce Harper's effort. And that's what I really appreciate about him. And it's not like the Phillies don't have other players. Or Trey Turner's worth watching. JT is. They've got a lot of guys that are worth the price of admission to watch. But Harper's he's just different. He's special. Zach Wheeler. Boy, to see a start made by him, that'd be phenomenal. One of the top pitchers in the game that gives, 8 starts out of 10, you feel like fans do not walk out of the ballpark feeling cheated by what they saw from Zach Wheeler. They're going to be, in any pitcher, they're going to have 2 games out of 10 where you're like, oh my goodness, what happened there? Baseball is a lot of fun, and the changes they made, by the way, the pitch clocks, bases, things like that they've put in and instituted, I like it a lot. I think they made the necessary changes in that regard. But what usually gets in the way of the great product? Right? Management. And I'm talking about the people running the sport, not a team management. Okay? But the people running the sport. You're like, no, what are you doing out there? Right? And we've talked about the NCAA today. Right? They don't want to give them the 105-player roster limit to grandfather and walk-ons until they're out. It makes no sense. Like zero. Now, I think I know what's driving that, because I think there are a couple of conference commissioners out there that said, hey, our spring practices are over and we've already cut our walk-ons. See what I'm saying? So because of that, we can't have Penn State because they were patient and waited. Well, we can't have that. That's a competitive advantage. Oh, for goodness sakes. Really? Again, what gets in the way of the product?
I'm guessing it's probably the same people that don't want the early signing period moved back to August.
Management. It's always management. Okay. And the reason it is because they're not in the trenches every day. When you're in the trenches every day, you have a really good feel about what's right, what's wrong, what makes something tick, what doesn't tick, as opposed to sitting in an office making decisions because you don't have a feel for what makes something tick or is off base. Can't do that. Now, conversely, people in the trenches may not appreciate all the decisions that management has to make either. But there are some decisions that have no common sense.
Party time, game time, or just fun time. Doesn't matter what time it is because it's Brewers Outlet time. The Beverage Supermarket has the area's largest beer selection. Imports, microbrews, ciders, and domestics. Pick from over 100 ice-cold 12-packs and dozens of 24-ounce singles. Soda, snacks, hot sauces, fresh roasted peanuts. Make it one-stop party shopping, and don't forget the pickle bar. So whatever you're celebrating or just doing it up, Brewers Outlet, Reagan Street, Sunbury wants to see you. And thank you for your years of patronage.
At Sunbury Motors, we're not just from America, we're for America. That's why we're proud to announce our employee pricing program with incredible savings on 255 new eligible Fords. Right now, save up to $6,797 on 25 2025 Ford Explorers, starting at under $40,000. Save up to $2,665 on 16 2025 Ford Mavericks, starting just under $28,000. And for those who need strength and power, save up to $10,541 on 60 2025 Ford F-150s, starting at under $48,000. These are more than vehicles. They represent American craftsmanship, strength, and pride. At Sunbury Motors, we're proud to be American-made, American-owned, and dedicated to helping you drive through 2025 with confidence. Sunbury Motors, American-made, American-owned, and coming alive in 2025.
Party time, game time, or just fun time. Doesn't matter what time it is because it's Brewers Outlet time. The Beverage Supermarket has the area's largest beer selection. Imports, microbrews, ciders, and domestics. Pick from over 100 ice-cold 12-packs and dozens of 24-ounce singles. Soda, snacks, hot sauces, fresh roasted peanuts. Make it one-stop party shopping, and don't forget the pickle bar. So whatever you're celebrating or just doing it up, Brewers Outlet, Reagan Street, Sunbury wants to see you. And thank you for your years of patronage.
Hi, this is Season. For over 100 years, the Purdy Insurance Agency has been protecting families and businesses of the greater Susquehanna Valley and beyond. With the experience of our trained and knowledgeable staff, you can rest assured that your needs will be evaluated and met by some of the industry's best representatives. No matter what your insurance needs are, call Purdy Insurance today at 570-286-5855. Visit our website at purdyinsurance.com or check us out on Facebook to see what we can do for you.
Bringing you an in-depth look at Penn State sports and more. This is the Steve Jones Show on News Radio 1070 WKOK. The Steve Jones Show is presented by Sunbury Motor Company, Purdy Insurance, and Brewers Outlet. Now from the Sunbury Motor Studio, here's Steve Jones.
And this half hour being brought to you by Purdy Insurance, Market Street in Sunbury. Go to purdyinsurance.com. Auto, home, light, business, boat, motorcycle, RV. Also, they insurance, Medicare products. Do a great job there. They do everything they can, make sure you're fully insured and save you money. That's because customer service means everything to the great people at Purdy Insurance. Market Street in Sunbury. Go to purdyinsurance.com. So, I think people have had the feeling that for the most part, not all the way through, but for the most part, Penn State is going to be more, and it's starting to really transition in the last couple of years, more to a 4-2-5 team, which is two linebackers. Doesn't mean they can't play three linebackers, because, and it's not like they haven't practiced three linebackers, because they have. And I think you saw it today, Tamir Robinson, who I thought was having, by the way, a very good spring, has put his name into the portal. Now, I haven't officially seen it yet, but but there's been a lot of talk that John Mitchell might as well. Okay. John's from Jacksonville. He's the one that made the recovery on the onside kick in the SMU game, and he has 4 years of eligibility remaining. He would have been a redshirt freshman here at Penn State. Should he, and you always have to hold out the part that maybe they stay or not, or you may get into a situation, for example, where a guy decides to return. But again, you are in the realm. That you have the numbers game. You have 119 players. You have 11 more coming in. So now, with Tamir Robinson, and it appears there's been a lot of talk about Johnny Mitchell, that you'd be down to 117, which is 128. And the part that is gut-wrenching for James Franklin is, if you are forced to get to 105, what do you do with these walk-ons that you cherish? And believe me, he cherishes them. So, I mean, that's the gut punch for coaches. I mean, some coaches have already, boom, they've done it. I mean, Iowa's already done it. Kirk Ferentz, boom, done. Again, it depends on how you want to run your program. And remember, most programs are done with their spring practices. Most programs have had their spring games. Penn State and some others are going to do it next week. With Easter being this weekend, I don't think anybody's having their spring game this week. I don't think. Do you know of any?
Not that I saw, no.
Yeah. Now, there'll be some people who have their spring game, for example, next Thursday. Some may have it Friday. Penn State's going to be Saturday. Okay. And I mean, you're going to have movement in the transfer portal. I mean, to think that there isn't going to be any? I mean, it is a deep football team. It's deep. And keep in mind too, here's the other part. And I did mention this earlier, but it's worth bringing up again. It's not as if Penn State's not going to go back in the portal for somebody. Of course they will. They'll go back into the portal for somebody. Now, they're not usually one that takes a boatload of guys, but they'll go back into the portal to get a guy or two. If it is the right fit. Has to be the right fit.
There's actually more in the 19th than there is on the 26th, Steve.
Is there really?
Indiana and Michigan is Saturday. Indiana and Michigan's is Saturday. Texas A&M, Duke's, okay. Oregon State. Bucknell's is Friday night, by the way, April 18th. Okay. Yeah, there's only 4 right now on the 26th. Rutgers, Oregon, USF, and Penn State.
Wow, I thought with Easter weekend maybe that would make people think twice about doing it on this weekend. But
Washington's isn't until May 2nd.
Well, that's when it stops raining. No. May 2nd. And again, part of this is I don't know what school calendars are. Yeah. I don't know what Washington's school calendar is. For all we know, they end later. I don't know. But you can't sit there and be, oh my goodness, they lost this guy. What, you didn't expect they were going to have somebody go into the portal? When you have a deep football team like this is, a deep football team, it's going to happen. Guys are going to go into the portal. Okay. Yeah. And so it's going to be an interesting 10 days, which has already started this morning. And it's like that across the country. I don't know if Cal was sitting there expecting their top running back to go to Oklahoma, but he did. Okay, that's not fun. You're Justin Wilcox, like, really? They think we were like counting on this guy. Yeah.
Steve, I have Bob from Hanover on the line.
Hello, Bob. How are you today? Great to have you with us.
Doing well, and yourself?
I'm doing well. It's Easter week and just enjoying life.
Oh, that's good. Hey, I just had a curious question. Ohio State's spring practice or spring game, whatever they referred to it as this year, it was on the Big Ten Network. Why didn't they put any other schools on?
Well, I think Rutgers is going to be. Penn State, just so people know, Penn State's difficult to broadcast the TV this year, Bob.
Oh?
Because there's no West Side.
There's no what?
West Side.
Oh, right. Yeah, I know that.
So since there's no West Side, the TV cameras need to have the sun at their back.
Gotcha.
They really can't do it. I mean, I know a lot of people have asked that question about, your point. Ohio State's on. What about this? I think Rutgers is going to be on TV from what I saw, but there really aren't many. And of course, Nebraska's not having a spring game. And for Penn State, one of the reasons is simple. Right? It's not a question of showing what you have and you don't have. Right now, Penn State's very difficult to broadcast because you have to have the sun at your back for the cameras. There's no place to put the cameras.
No, I didn't realize that, but that makes sense. I was wondering, it just seemed to me that the only game that I saw that they televised was Ohio State so far. I might be wrong about that, and they've shown it over and over again, and it's like, I hope they're not giving them preferential exposure by showing them and nobody else. That has nothing to do with it.
I think part of it is they're the defending national champions. I mean, that's part of it, which included a ring ceremony, and there's a lot surrounding it. I think the timing of it being, I think they played on the 13th. Does that sound right? Or the 12th? I think they played on the 12th.
Something like that.
Yeah, it helps. And I know that Rutgers is going to be on. Now, what their rationale is as to who's on, who's not. And also, I mean, I didn't watch it because, no offense, I get nothing out of it. So, but was it played like a traditional scrimmage or was it a practice? I'd have to ask you.
Yeah, I don't know. I didn't watch it either.
Okay.
I look for who's being carried. I normally don't watch them except for Penn State, and I'm usually at the game, so if I tape it, I'll watch it later. But I was just curious why that occurred that way.
Yeah, why Ohio State, I think probably for the reasons I talked about. Yeah. I believe Rutgers is on because I was looking ahead to see if somebody else was on. They're the only other one I saw that was on. So I don't know what the rationale is behind that. But for Penn State, I understand the rationale of not doing it this time through.
Curious.
The rationale in part for not doing it is because of the logistics.
Plus, I like to go up to the game because it gives me a chance to try to talk my son into buying my lunch that day. So.
Well, I'll tell you right now, I know that kid. Moths fly out of that kid's wallet. I mean, come on. You can tell him I said that.
Oh, I will. All right. Well, thanks for taking my call. Have a happy Easter, guys.
You have a happy Easter too, Bob. Thanks so much.
Yep. Bye.
Yep. Yeah, I mean, you go ahead.
I was going to say one of the reasons Ohio State's the only ones who have had their spring game so far in the Big Ten.
Okay, so the only ones? Okay.
It cool. Looks like Michigan's is scheduled for Saturday and should be on TV. And then the 19th, Rutgers and Oregon are both supposed to be on.
Okay, so they're both on. Okay, good. No, because, I mean, look, they're looking for programming. If they can get any kind of programming that's football on TV on the Big Ten Network, you darn well better believe they're going to figure out a way to get football on the Big Ten Network. I don't care what season it is.
I misspoke. Purdue had theirs last week too, but they opted for Big Ten Network Plus for that one.
I'm shocked.
Yeah, me too.
I can't believe it. The Barry Odom era underway. You know, what's interesting with the scheduling in the conference is that after all these years of you already knew ahead of time because of divisions, there would be 6 teams you would play every year. So you could count on that. There'd be 6 teams every year, and a lot of times it'd be that normal, most of the time crossover game. And for Penn State, that normal, most of the time crossover game was Iowa. Well, now with the 18-game schedule, and by the way, I completely agree with the Big Ten about trying to schedule everybody home and away over a 5-year period. I am absolutely 100% behind that. I think, to me, that's a conference where you play everybody. But what's interesting about it is Penn State only has 2 repeat teams in the conference from last year. In other words, 2 repeat teams overall in the entire schedule. And the 2 are Ohio State, that's going to be on the road. Oh, no, my apologies, 3 repeat teams. Ohio State, which will be on the road. UCLA, which will be on the road. And then, by total happenstance, Oregon, whom they played in the Big Ten championship game last year. The other 9 are all new opponents. Now, you are going to run into this for years, because in 2026, it'll be the first time since Penn State entered the Big Ten, and Ohio State will not be on the schedule. Penn State's played Ohio State every year since the 1993 season. 2026 will be the first time they're not on the schedule. It's just part of the rotation. You play most teams in the 5-year span 3 times, and there are a couple of teams where Penn State, I think it's like Nebraska and Michigan, you play twice. So, it's just different. It's just different. But, scheduling-wise, that's what you have. I mean, there'll be 9 different opponents for Penn State compared to last year. Okay. Yeah, it's all part of it. Same thing with basketball. You have all the 1 plays. You have 3 home and aways. There's no problem with that. Yeah. I mean, if you're going to have a conference this big, play everybody. The mistake they made that I'm critical of is everybody should go to the Big Ten basketball tournament. I realize that maybe they were caught between a rock and a hard place this year because the Indiana Pacers had a home game on that Tuesday night. I'm sure they'll tout the incredible success of it moving forward.
The Big Ten tournament or that one Pacers home game?
Probably both. Pacers home game was great. The players all went. Yeah. So, well, it is the interesting season now, and it happens at the same time as Penn State is practicing. And and the portal opened today. It'll close the day before the Blue-White game. And then after that, decisions have to be made. And not just by players, but decisions are going to have to be made by the coaching staff.
I do wonder how long they're going to be able to hold out on the walk-ons if they can hold out long enough for them to actually make that decision.
Well, I think that she's going to make a decision here at some point. When I mean some point, I mean some point soon. I don't think this is going to go past this month. How about that? And I know that the sticking point could end up being the walk-ons and how she feels about it. Now, she cannot put that into the agreement herself independently. She is not allowed to do that. But she can also hold off on signing off on the agreement and cite that as a reason. So it's going to depend on how much further she wants to push this against the 105 compared to the NCAA. But I would think that next week could be a week where we get some thought from her as to where this stands, pro and con, because she was inclined 10 days ago, and she said it straight out, was inclined to feel that the agreement should move forward. But she wanted them to take care of a couple of items in there, and one was about language, and that was on the 10-year, should future players be married to this 10-year agreement, and they changed and tweaked the language to say it was going to be reviewed every year. That doesn't take much to tweak that. They did. Then the part she brought up about walk-ons. We'll see if that's a line in the sand or not. But we probably should hear something, Todd, I think, next week.
You almost have to, obviously, with how close we're getting to the decision-making process.
Yeah, you would think the calendar plays a role.